Hi, my name is Alaina. I'm here today to bring you a wow moment. Today I want to talk to you about priorities and putting first things first. With the holidays coming up and all the things that we tend to do this time of the year, like decorating and shopping for gifts, planning parties, going to parties and get-togethers with friends and family, whatever it is that has your mind and your time occupied these days will tend to take priority in our lives. And we'll start to see the things that we once placed at the top of the list, like God, start to dwindle down and move slowly further and further. Sorry about that, ladies. So back to what I was saying is the more things that we place at the top of our list, something is being neglected and moving further and further down. And a lot of times we may find that that's time with God. And a good way to judge is the state of your vehicle. If you're open the door to your vehicle and you got trash falling out, or you got, things in the bottom of the floor that you really could have taken care of, that's probably a good sign that you don't have enough time for God if you don't have enough time to even clean your car. And I have been there, so I definitely can relate to that. So, if you're like me, you may start to notice certain areas of your life become more and more of a burden instead of a joy, like, things at home. The dishes start to pile up and the laundry, and you just dread having to do those things. Cooking dinner for your family or for yourselves becomes a chore, and you're looking for shortcuts, and those are some other signs that your priorities are a little bit out of whack. And you may start to wonder, what is going on? Why do I feel this way? And what you'll find is that the things that we had thought were important really aren't in the grand scheme of things. God is number one. So every moment in our lives, in our calendars, takes up something else that we could be doing, whether it's time with our family or time with God. Every time we add another thing to our calendar and say yes to another thing, we're saying no to something else. So that's something we need to keep in mind here. What I had done was allowed all these good things. Among themselves, they're good things. Serving and taking care of my family and volunteering to do things, whatever the case may be, helping someone with something, going out to eat, meeting with friends, all of those things take up our time. And we tend to lose focus on where they really belong. When you say yes to meeting with friends, when you say yes to serving a need, when you say yes to teaching piano, or to going back to school, all of those things take a slot that push something else down, and that something else is your time with God often, because we should be spending as much time with Him as possible. And as we're filling our calendar more and more and more, and we're neglecting ourselves and the things that we need to be taken care of in our homes, you're likely neglecting the things you should be doing and the time you should be spending with God. So we have to be really careful and really intentional about prioritizing and making sure that God does not slip to the bottom. And sometimes we may not notice that until it's too late and you've gotten so far away from Him, and you're thinking one day, God feels so far. Well, it's not because He moved, it's because we moved. So as long as we remember to prioritize properly, and put God in the place that He belongs, first place, then we can maintain that relationship with Him that He so wants us to have, and we should so want to have with Him. As Christians, we're each called to have Jesus as our first priority. In Luke 14:26, Jesus uses really strong language to the seriousness of putting Christ first, and He says, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple." So we know by looking at the context of this verse that as a whole, Jesus is saying He must be first above everything else, above your children, above your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters. He is first. And when we're trapped in the busyness of the holidays and the busyness of life, and we're placing gifts and holiday spending and shopping and parties and volunteering here and volunteering over there, while all of those things can be great, if they're crowding up our time with Him, they're really, really toxic to our relationship with our Lord. The second priority, which goes hand in hand to loving God, is loving others. And in Matthew 22:36-40, it says, "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" And Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." So we cannot have love for God and not love others. And we cannot love others truly without first loving God. So as followers of Jesus, we have to be sure that what we're doing and our priorities in our lives points to that and reflects that. I've added somebody to the video. I didn't think I was going to be able to get away with finishing it without holding him. So I'll try to do this and keep my focus. So because we're left with no doubt that God is to be our highest priority, being with Him in prayer and being in His Word really will help bring us closer and closer to Him. And that needs to be our number one priority, having a relationship with Him. Another thing that we need to do is we need to check our motives. What are our motives for saying yes to things? And what are our motives to saying no? If we're saying yes to things because we think, well, if I don't do it, who will? That's not exactly right. What we have there at the center of that is pride. Pride is there because He may have another person in mind who may be better for the job. And we're simply responsible for what God desires of us and nothing more. The other side of this is selfishness. If we're saying yes or no to something because of selfishness, then that's a problem too. This puts ourselves as a priority instead of being motivated by the love of God and the love of others. So we really need to be careful about what our motives are for saying yes and no to things. And allowing the Lord to keep us focused on His priorities for our lives that will always end in joy and contentment. So, and that can't be found anywhere else, no matter what we're giving up and what we're taking on. So remember that, ladies, and have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.